Hey everybody, Sentai5 here, and welcome to my Shin Kamen Rider review. Before we get started, here's your spoiler alert because I'm going to be talking about a lot of things that happen in this movie, so if you haven't seen it yet and don't want to get spoiled, don't watch this video. So now that's out of the way, let's get into it. Overall, I really enjoyed this movie. I've been waiting for this for 2 years just like everybody else since it was announced back in early 2021 for the 50th anniversary. Just hearing that Hideaki Anno was going to direct it for his Shin universe automatically had me interested. Then seeing the trailers for it, especially recreating the original opening sequence, that really got me hyped up and left me wanting more until the first 20 or so minutes were released online shortly after the release of the movie in Japan. And when I saw those first 20 minutes, I just knew I was in for something special, at least special for me personally. So I saw the movie last night, which was May 31st. It was the very first night of showings. I'm obviously recording this on June 1st, but there's also going to be showings tomorrow on June 2nd as well as June 5th. So if you haven't gotten your tickets already and are interested, definitely do so. I had read the manga a very long time ago, so some of my memory was kind of fuzzy on it, but I do remember parts of it as well. And as for the original series, I watched it for the very first time back in 2016, and it was very enduring because it's 98 episodes, it's a lot to take in, and I was doing like 4 episodes a day after work or before bed. Eventually it led me to getting a little bit of a burnout, so I took a little bit of a hiatus and then picked it back up very shortly after that hiatus. And through, I really enjoyed the show, even though I took that hiatus. And, I really see how and why the show became popular through my own viewing of it and why it lasted as long as it did. So before we get into what I really enjoyed about the movie, I think we should address some of the things that I didn't enjoy. I don't even know if that's the right wording for it, but we're going to address some of my problems. I think that's a better way to go about this. So a big one for me was a mix of the pacing and character interactions. The biggest example for this was between Hongo Takeshi and Ichimonji Hayato. These are two very big, iconic characters to the Kamen Rider franchise. And in the movie, they had a lot of camaraderie in battle, but there's no actual development or sort of arc between them that could lead up or build up to that. So it's pretty lacking in that area because I really wanted to see them interact more and build up this friendship and camaraderie that they are very well known for as the Double Riders. But don't get me wrong, even though I had a problem with that, it doesn't really affect my overall enjoyment of the movie because the movie still did what it needed to do as a Kamen Rider movie. Also, along with the pacing, we're going through so many different augments one by one, so I feel like a lot of people would find problems with that, especially with the Wasp augment, because her and Ruriko had a whole backstory that wasn't really there in the movie, but we were supposed to believe that these are two characters who had quite a past. Some of the usage of CGI was also a little jarring in certain fight scenes. Don't get me wrong, the action was really good, but there was just some parts where the CGI was, it was starting to take me out a little bit of the fights, and I was just like, come on, let's get onto it already. But that's more of a minor nitpick to me, I think, because most of the usage of CGI in the action scenes were actually pretty okay to me. And I think my last problem was some of the scenes are obviously very serious and emotional and informative, but instead of getting the intentional reaction, most of the people in my theater were just laughing at those scenes when laughter and humor was not the actual intent. You can easily tell. But I think that's it for some of my problems with the movie. Let's move on to the good stuff. And trust me, there's a lot of good stuff that just outweighs a lot of my negatives and still made for a very good experience personally. First off, the movie is a love letter to Kamen Rider fans in general, especially fans of the manga and the original series. If you've seen them, then this is really the cherry on top for you. And it really helps because Anno is a huge Kamen Rider fan himself, so you can see the love and the hard work and just the overall passion he has for Kamen Rider, especially the original series that it reflects here in the cinematography. And that was something I really appreciated a lot because there was a lot of attention to detail, a lot of beats taken from how production was in the 70s itself, namely when a person's dead body would dissolve. That's such a classic Showa era effect. And my theater went crazy when they saw it for the first time on screen, and I was like, yeah, they totally get what that's supposed to evoke. And as I just mentioned before, there's plenty of callbacks and references to both the show and the manga that put a lot of smiles on my face, as well as just had the theater just cheering in excitement for it. It's filmed as if it was a 70s show, but with a modern setting. Next, let's talk about the amazing score it had. It was just an absolute chef's kiss. Taku Iwasaki composed the music, and it's really nice. It's very energetic, it's very hyped, and also it uses cues from the original series as well, which I think is a really nice mix of new and old, especially in some of the scenes that it plays in. It just has those iconic cues that got the crowd going wild. If you can't already tell, I had a pretty good theater crowd. The cast was absolutely great, especially our main trio of characters. Hongo Takeshi was portrayed very nicely here, and how it shows that his kindness is both his weakness and strength throughout the movie, especially how he reacts to being a cyborg and just freaking out that he actually kills people with his hands now because of his enhanced strength. And that first fight against the Shocker Troopers and Spider Og really conveyed that. In the original show, Hongo Takeshi also, deals with the loss of his humanity and getting used to his cyborg strength in his early episodes. So that's a nice reflection on that. Ruriko has a huge role in this movie as well, which I really enjoyed compared to how she was in the show and in the manga. She's very pivotal to Hongo Takeshi's journey throughout this movie, his entire character arc actually, as well as also helping Hayato become a hero essentially. So it was really nice to see that. And speaking of Hayato, we get to see an awesome portrayal of Ichimonji Hayato, who basically steals the scenes that he's in, starting from when he does his first henshin. The crowd went wild, and I'm really glad that they did, because the movie really put a lot of respect on his name, and he just really got his flowers here. I couldn't be any happier, because I've been a huge fan of Ichimonji Hayato since I watched the original series, and I always loved his personality, the different tone that he brings to the series as well, and of course how his story concludes when Hongo sacrifices himself by using up all of his prana, and his spirit just resides in his mask that gets passed on to Hayato, who then becomes Kamen Rider 2+1, which is just such a perfect ending to the movie in general, because he truly becomes the Kamen Rider, the Masked Rider, and we know his fight will continue on with the guidance of Hongo's spirit as well. And this really goes back to how I said that there was a problem between a lack of interaction with the characters, because like I said, the problem was there, but it doesn't ruin my experience for the movie overall because of stuff like this. The Double Riders also had a really good fight against the Shocker Riders in the tunnel. I thought that was really well done. There's a lot of discussion about prana, which is this life force energy that exists within all living beings, and essentially a huge plot point throughout the entire movie, leading into a fact that there's this crazy prana habitat dimension that Shocker is trying to send all of humanity to by sending their prana there. But yeah, there was a little bit too much prana discussion for my liking, because like the first 2 times they mentioned it, they gave us the whole spiel about what it is, and I was like, okay, that's good enough for me, that's fine. And speaking of prana, we are led into Ichiro, who is Ruriko's brother, who then becomes Kamen Rider number 0, or should I say Kamen Rider Dai Zero Go. And his suit is just amazing. It's a butterfly themed Kamen Rider and it works so well. And he transforms with what to me looked like the Double Typhoon, but I don't know what it's officially called in the movie pamphlet, so don't really quote me on that. His story pretty much mirrors Hongo's story in that they both have tragic backstories, where Ichiro lost his mother and Hongo lost his father, and both of them were not strong enough to do something about it. Here, Ichiro wants to create a world without any violence. To attain that comes at the cost of humanity, and of course he's shown a better way towards the end via the spirit of his sister, as well as the help of the Double Riders. Overall, this movie is mainly about humanity, the loss of it, the horrors of it, pain and happiness, how there's a fine line between them, the horrors of science, how one uses their power despite it coming from evil, and continuing to fight for yourself and for the sake of others. It's just overall Kamen Rider down to its very core. The heart is really there too. The heart is in its right place despite the problems the movie has, and I think Tokusatsu fans, Kamen Rider fans especially, will be able to see that. The theater experience I had, if you couldn't tell by watching this video, was very good. I actually had some doubts and some fears that, people were going to be talking over the movie or playing with their belts half the time, but it was quiet when it needed to be, it was reactive when it needed to be, and that's all, it was a very normal theater movie experience, but obviously a little bit more meaningful because we were all watching the US release of a Kamen Rider movie for the very first time. And this is like probably the second biggest local meetup I've ever done for Tokusatsu in general. And it was nights like these that really made me realize how big of a Tokusatsu community my area really has. For those of you who don't know, I'm from New York. I live on Long Island, and there's a lot of people from the Long Island and New York area that are just really huge into Tokusatsu. And I didn't first realize that until the Team Kamen Rider meetup back in 2020, just before all hell broke loose with COVID. And then this was like the second time I really realized that, and it was a great feeling, especially getting to talk to new Tokusatsu fans and catching up with old friends that I've known in the fandom for quite a few years now. I was really lucky to have a packed out theater like that. If or when you go see the movie, I hope you also have a very good theater experience as well. That's all I could really ask for besides you enjoying the movie. But that about does it for this review. I didn't really go too crazy into the plot, mainly because I really need to watch it again to get everything down to a detail, but I covered pretty much a lot of it. So please check your local showings and listings to see what theater it's playing by you if you're interested in seeing it. It's definitely worth your time, and I hope you enjoy it. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video, please, to get the word about Shin Kamen Rider going. Be well, stay safe, and I will see you all next time.